Hey, this is Rob, and you're listening to the Hidden Destination podcast. Okay, today is September 14th, and I will be recapping my ride from Carrieville State Forest to the town of Clare. I'm in the town of Clare, and it's Clare with a shamrock. So we know there's some Irish influence there. Today I rode 70 miles with a little over 2,000 feet of elevation, and it was mostly headwinds again. So it was a tough day. It was the winds were very confusing. They were mostly coming out of the east, but occasionally it would shift, and I'd catch a tailwind when I was going south. But despite all that, it was a pretty amazing day. The sun was out. It was warm. Like, the scent of fall was in the air, which was incredible. And I felt super recharged. I slept last night for like 10 hours, maybe 9 hours, but I got a lot of sleep last night. And I came into camp yesterday with what I could only describe as just like super depleted dopamine. The day prior in Ludington, I did not sleep much at all. And with the beers and like all the good food and like the sort of the overindulgence, and then poorly sleeping, I was, that first day back in the saddle after that was, just feeling super just blah. So it is interesting. It's interesting what happens. I mean, I nerd out all the time about dopamine and sort of how it plays into the ride. But when your dopamine levels are depleted, it's hard to push on. And I came into camp last night with just like this weird feeling of like dread. It was interesting. And part of me knew in the back of my mind that I, could chalk that up to just sort of neurologically what my state was, due to the preceding factors. But all things considered, super recharged today, despite the big push. It was beautiful. The fall colors, just the smells in the air, and the terrain definitely improved in terms of like the beauty. The first day out of Ludington was kind of bland, but today was just more like farmland, rolling hills. It was nice. It was very nice. And what I gotta say is the amount of roadkill that I have seen in the past couple days has been astonishing, particularly porcupines. Like, these roads are what I'm gonna call a porcupine killing field. Like, I've seen so many dead porcupines. It's crazy. And just other like tons of dead opossums. I saw some, I won't go into detail, but residential animals that didn't make it, deer, raccoons, just, oh my God, they're everywhere. And this is pretty morbid, but I'm gonna say it. If you look at the faces of some of the like opossum or raccoons that have been deceased for like a week or so, they're hilarious. They have the weirdest looking, just the looks on their faces. It's just like it's like cartoonish. Again, that's pretty morbid. I understand that, but I chuckle about 50% of the time that I see one. So, yeah, next time you see a dead opossum on the street, take a peek at its face. But yeah, just overall, what a difference a day makes. Like from yesterday compared to today. So that was good. But yeah, scored some fresh apples too. I rode past several apple trees. It's crazy because you can actually smell it before you see them. So as soon as you smell the apples, and then you peer around and you're like, oh, there it is. And so the first one that I came across, some of the apples were low enough that I could pick. Unfortunately, the second tree that I stumbled upon, they were like way better apples, but they were far too high for me to pick. The low-hanging fruit had been already picked by other passerbys. But I did score like 5 good apples that I incorporated into some dishes. So that's been cool. What else? Oh yeah, so I'm not sure if listeners saw my Instagram post about the Tippy Canoe bar and grill incident that I had with a patron, but it was an interesting encounter, I gotta say. So what ended up happening was I was going through the town of I think it was Temple, which I was planning on eating lunch there, but when I went into Temple, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna get out of Temple as soon as I can, because it was pretty run down, and just not a place I wanted to spend much time. And so but I needed water, and there were no gas stations, there were no restaurants, there were no grocery stores, but there was a restaurant. There was a bar and grill called the Tippy Canoe, kind of like a ATV side-by-side sort of hangout bar and grill, it seemed. So they were open, and I went in to get my bottles filled, and asked the bartender. She filled them up very nicely, and there were probably like, I would say, 10 other patrons in there at the bar, all kind of, looking at me funny, because I had my vest on and my helmet and my sunglasses, and I don't know, they probably don't, it's probably the cycling shorts that make me stick out the most, but either way, so she fills my bottles, I thank her, and I walk out, and then I'm taking a photo of my bike, which is the one on the Instagram, in front of the Tippy Canoe, and this woman walks out, and she's like, hey, I just want to let you know that was a dick move. I was like, what? She was like, you can't just stroll into a bar and ask for something and not leave a tip. She was like, that was a real dick move of yours. She was like, I was like, okay, thank you for letting me know. And she was like, I just got to say, your parents did a terrible job raising you. They would be ashamed, or something to that extent. She said that my parents did a terrible job raising me. And I was like, okay, thank you. And then she slammed the door and went back in. So obviously I was like a tad stunned, but I thought I was just gonna, part of me was just like, screw that woman, I'm gonna take off, screw this town, Temple sucks. But I was like, it got me thinking that she kind of had a point, but I had just finished listening to the audio version of Dale Carnegie's book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I decided to take a page out of his book. Because one of the things that he talks about when there's like confrontation is to, like, right, wrong, or indifferent, cede territory to the other individual and try to find your own mistakes and thank them for bringing your shortcomings to your attention. So I was like, God, I really don't want to do that. But I had some cash on me. I actually had 220s. And so I go back into the bar and the door chimes and the woman sees me coming up, and I'm sure she's like, oh shit. And I'm like kind of obviously uncomfortable, but so I go up to the bartender and I say, excuse me, but this woman over here brought something to my attention that I didn't realize. And it didn't occur to me that I should have left you a tip for giving me the water. And I want to apologize for that. And then I look at the woman who's eating her cheeseburger down the bar, and I said, and ma'am, I want to thank you for bringing this to my attention, because to be honest, I didn't realize that was a rude move. And now going forward, when I get my water bottles filled at a bar, I'll make sure to leave a tip. So I want to thank you. And the look on her face was priceless. She immediately, you could tell, felt horrible about how that encounter went earlier. And so I asked the bartender for change for the 20 so I could leave her a tip. And I put $2 down on the bar. And I said, ma'am, do you think $2 is enough? And she's like, yeah. She's like, oh my God, thank you so much. She's like, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to be rude, but I was a bartender, and and just kind of goes into this apologetic story. And I was like, no, you're fine. It's okay. I appreciate you bringing it to my attention. And then she ends the conversation with, God bless, and I hope you have a great ride. And just turned into like this gem of a woman. And so Dale Carnegie's brilliant, because that works. And then on my way out, I was like, oh, ma'am, just to let you know, my parents actually did a great job raising me. And then I was like, just to add in a little joke, I was like, although I haven't seen my mom in like almost 20 years because she took off. So about half of my parents did a good job raising me. And we had a chuckle, and that was that. So I left there feeling like, actually just feeling much better about the encounter myself, because I could have left there saying, like I said, screw that woman, screw this place, feeling better. But I think we both came out of that situation feeling better about each other. Who knows? So yeah, I left Temple, and then I rode down to the town of Lake George, not to be confused with the one in the Adirondacks where my Aunt Jane lives, but there's a little lake down south of Temple. I came across a great Amish stand and bought some peppers for dinner, and they had these homemade granola bars for $1 a piece that I had for dessert tonight, and they are not even close to granola bars. It's basically was a chocolate covered Rice Krispie treat, and it was absolutely insane. It was so good. All homemade. They had the ingredients. It was like Rice Krispies, oats, honey, coconut oil, a few other things. It was insane. It was so good. So that was exciting. And then I came into the town of Farwell. I had it was Zinzin's Elephant time at that point. So cracked open a new container of spearmint, which was great, my favorite. And this weather calls for several artists that I like to listen to, Coheeding Cambria being one, but today I did some AFI, and I hit a nice downward gradient into Farewell and a bit of a tailwind, and I was cruising. It was amazing. So that 8-mile stretch just flew by, and then I hit a little bit of rail trail as I headed into a headwind east back into the town of Clare, where and that's CLARE, by the way, where my campsite was. Stopped at Dollar General, and overall just a great day. Pitched up camp, made some food, and gonna call it a night here soon, drinking some tea. It's cooling down like crazy, which is nice because it was hot today. It was like 85, but it's clear. Looking at the stars right now. See the dipster satellite passing by, and good day. And I officially signed my offer letter with Skydio, so that's also exciting. So yay for today. All right, well, from the beautiful town of Clare and the Pettit City Campground, ta-ta for now.